Welcome to Property with Jacob. I'm your host, Jacob Walker. Today we're going to be covering what to look for within a property. This can be broken down into location, price, is it below market value, loan to value and mortgages. Location is the most critical part of this because all the preceding factors are based off this primary factor. Location, such as for example the northwest of England, is significantly cheaper as a whole, as an average, than the market in London, central London for example. For the price for like a 3-bed semi or 3-bed terrace house in Manchester, Greater Manchester let's say, you can pick one up for about 100, 150k. In central London, you wouldn't find anything less than £400,000. I'd be surprised if it was a 3-bed house less than. Could be wrong. If I am, let me know in the comments. The location is a primary determinant factor. Breaking it down into two separate pathways, what we can do is we can look at houses that we're going to want to look at capital growth. So we're looking at owning for a while and they're going to go up in value over a series of time. We can also look at yield, so rental yield, so producing a good cash flow every month as like a monthly income to subsidise your normal income. Or you can try and do both. Properties most of the time are going to be optimised for one rather than another, but there's a nice method that you can use to get the best of both worlds, which is probably why you clicked on this video. What you can do is, when you buy, this brings us nicely actually onto our third topic, which is buying below market value. So if you buy a house that is in quite poor condition, or as Northerners say, quite poor nick, what you can do is you can perform a renovation on the house, increase the value of that house compared to what you bought it for, and then release the equity from the house in the form of a mortgage extension. Now this might sound a bit fancy pants, but what we can do is we can break this down into nice, usable, meaningful things that you could actually go out and do. So you're looking for a house, you find this house, it costs £100,000. You're looking on Rightmove, for example. What do you do next? Well, you need to look at the value of that house and compare it to other houses in the local area with very similar postcodes. For example, say the house was SK6 2PN, then you might look at all the postcodes within SK6 2P, or very, very close, only within like a 0.25 mile radius or 0.5 mile radius. What this does is it gives you a gauge on how much this house is worth relative to what's around it. If it's a 3-bed house, put on the criteria for checking local house prices of 3-bed houses or 3-bed terraces. Make sure the constraints are the same. This will give you a more realistic price. Now, if you look through like 10 potential houses and you can see that this house is significantly cheaper, like maybe a 20% reduction, all the other houses. Next step is, why is it below market value? Will the renovation that is necessary be doable with the budget that you might have and still enable you to come out with a profit? That leads on to our next step. So, is it profitable? You buy the house for £80,000, for example, you spend £5,000 renovating it. How much value have you added on? Have you got back to that £100,000 market value that all the other houses are worth? Again, that's really important to do it. Your house is the same price as the houses that are around it, because when the surveyor comes to look at your house, it will enable them to judge whether it's financeable, whether what you're saying the house is worth is accurate based on the houses that are around it. Most of the time, that's what they use, that and previously sold prices. To recap, looking at houses that are below market value, that's important. That'll help you actually make the money in the first place. A famous saying in property, I'm not sure who said it, is your profit is made before you buy, which is quite an interesting saying. So if you negotiate a good price, you'll be profitable when you come out. And when I say below market value, you might not need to find a house that's, say average market price is 100 grand, that you would go for something that's 80k. You could theoretically find something that's, for example, like 100k, and you could make an offer of 80k or 75k and see if they budge, see if they take it. Obviously you would want to back this up. You would want to give some justification of why you're offering that. Next step is mortgages. Leading on from the previous video, getting started young, you're probably going to be looking at a mortgage. If you don't need a mortgage, you're in a very great position. I probably wouldn't spend all this money on one specific property if you're going to buy it in cash. It's probably not the best investment idea. I'll probably explain that in a future video. Looking at mortgages, buy-to-let mortgages is 25%. This 25% will give you, so say it's our £80,000 house, it'll mean that you'll need £20,000 cash to actually go out and buy it under a buy-to-let mortgage. If it's on a resi mortgage, also known as residential, then you'll need about £8,000, which is 10% of that 80 grand. Different mortgage companies have different constraints on their budget, on whether they will lend to you or not, and they've got different lending criteria. This is why it can be important to have a good mortgage broker, or if you're feeling confident, you're looking through the high street lenders or using a mortgage comparison website. I personally, from my buy-to-lets, use a broker. I find that it gives me access to wider parts of the market, which I find quite useful. Having a good mortgage is important. It'll save you your monthly costs. Paying a brokerage fee of £900 to £1,000 might seem like a lot in the outset, but the amount of money that you will save over the course of the 30 years of the mortgage will significantly help you. Now, here's for the fun bit. Mortgages, I find a bit dry. Loan to value, I find a bit dry. Below market value, I find a bit dry. I'm a nerd, studying mechanical engineering. I like spreadsheets and I like calculations. I like nitty gritty, it's what I like. I have a spreadsheet, it's quite good. What I can do is I will leave a Google Doc within the comment section. You can download this Google Sheet, and you can use my spreadsheet, it's fine. What this will allow you to do is calculate what your return on investment will be based off the renovation that you do. So say you increase the value of the house from £80,000 to £100,000, you manage to produce a profit of £15,000 after legal costs and renovations are taken out. And then after that, you would look at your rent for the first year. So if you were to rent a property out, you would do the rental value minus your mortgage amount, minus your insurance bills, ground rent, maintenance, or anything like that. Obviously, this is subjective to which property you choose to go for. And then that will give you your profit per month. And then when you've got your profit per month, you'd multiply that by 12. I'll produce some sort of like document that will appear. When you've got your profit per year, you can add this to your ROI on your renovation costs, which is great. So once this is done, those two numbers added together will give you your profit for the first year. So you would be able to calculate ROI based off that first year of investment. What I find personally is useful for weighing up initial houses. So I'll do this calculation to see how much money am I going to get after the first year, because I would want to get a substantial chunk of that back before I move to my next property. Obviously you can always refinance, but if you're only making 15k, then you're going to struggle to buy another property that's of a similar standard. And it's all about recycling that cash and keeping that cash going forward. Again, something that I reiterate quite a lot is think with the end in mind, think about your goals, think about what you are going to do in the future, think about why you're doing it. Key thing is your location, the price, is it below market value, and your mortgage, is your mortgage affordable? Remember, take this away, cash flow is king, and think with the end in mind. There are two critical points that I feel like homogenous throughout the whole of property. You kind of need to think of those two things. Great, well, thank you for listening. It's been Jacob with Property with Jacob. Have a good night, or day, wherever you are. So, thank you for watching. If you like this video, then please like it. We've got a lot more videos in the pipeline, so if you like what you see, subscribe to us for weekly videos. I'll see you in the next one.